I checked my business account and $187,400 was gone. My own cousin forged wire transfers while I was out on jobs. He looked me in the eye and said the money belonged to the whole family. I still remember the exact moment my hand stopped shaking long enough to read the bank statement clearly. $187,400. Gone. Not stolen by some faceless hacker halfway across the world. Stolen by the cousin I'd given a second chance to. The one I'd personally vouched for when nobody else would hire him. Derek didn't even try to hide it. When I called him, he laughed. Actually laughed. And said 5 words that made my blood go cold. You owe us, cousin. Period. This is that story. I grew up in Galveston, Texas. Big family, working class. The kind where everybody knows your business before you do. My grandfather, Edwin Castillo, spent 40 years fixing shrimp boats and tugboats along the Gulf Coast. Old-timers at the harbor still talk about him. People hear that and assume he left behind some empire. He didn't. He left behind a work ethic, a last name the dock guys recognized, and a paid-off house my grandmother still lives in. That's it. No trust fund, no connections, no golden ticket. I enlisted in the Navy right out of high school, 17 years old, with a signed permission slip and a duffel bag. I trained as a Marine diesel mechanic, served 6 years, did 2 deployments. I came home at 25 with savings, discipline, and a skill set nobody in my family understood. My uncle called it tinkering with boat motors. My Aunt Lorraine said I should get a real job at the refinery like everybody else. I ignored all of them. I rented a corrugated steel bay near Pier 19 for $1,400 a month. No sign out front, no website, just me, a rolling tool chest, and a reputation I hadn't built yet. I worked 14-hour days rebuilding engines on charter fishing boats. Then a Coast Guard cutter contract came through a buddy named Marcus DeLeon. That changed everything. Word got around. Guy down at Pier 19 does clean work. Shows up on time. Doesn't gouge you. 3 years of that. 3 years of skipping vacations, eating lunch over an engine block, and reinvesting every dollar. I paid off my SBA microloan in 18 months. I hired my first full-time guy at year 4. By the time I turned 33, Castillo Marine Diesel had 4 employees, contracts with 3 marina operators, and $218,000 sitting in a dedicated business savings account. That money had one purpose: a second shop location in Corpus Christi. I'd found the building. I'd run the numbers with my accountant, Renee Thibodeau. The lease was ready to sign. Then Derek needed a job. Again. My cousin Derek Munoz was 31 and had been fired from an oil change franchise, let go from a warehouse position, and mutually separated from a landscaping crew. All within 4 years. Every time it happened, the family phone tree lit up. Can't you help him out? He's your blood. Your grandfather would be ashamed. I held out for a while, but 8 months before everything fell apart, I caved. I brought Derek on as a shop assistant. Inventory tracking, parts ordering, light cleaning. $19 an hour plus benefits. Better than anything he'd had before. He complained from week 1. $19? That's it? He said his 3rd day. I told him it was the starting rate for the position. He looked around the shop and said, "Must be nice sitting on a pile of cash while your family scrapes by." I let it go. Aunt Lorraine started calling once a month. She needed $5,000 for medical bills, then $8,000 for car repairs, then $10,000 for an emergency she couldn't quite explain. I said no every time, politely, firmly. She told the rest of the family I was forgetting where I came from, that I was hoarding wealth while blood relatives struggled. I'd built this thing from a rented tin shed with my own 2 hands, but somehow I was the villain. I noticed Derek staying late twice in February. The shop closes at 6. Security cameras showed him at the office computer past 9 both times. I asked him about it. He said he was catching up on backlogged parts orders. Sounded reasonable. I didn't check the access logs. I didn't pull the QuickBooks history. I trusted him. He was family. That was the mistake. Then one Tuesday morning in April, I logged into the business account to wire the deposit on the Corpus Christi lease, and the screen showed a balance of $31,000. I stared at that number for a full minute. $31,000. I refreshed the page. I logged out and logged back in. Same number. I told myself it was a glitch, some system error, a hold on a pending transfer that would resolve itself. But my stomach already knew. I called the bank's business line and got a representative named Sharon. She pulled up my account and went quiet for a few seconds. Then she started reading. 7 wire transfers over 11 days. The smallest was $15,000. The largest was $38,000. All authorized through the linked bookkeeping software using credentials tied to the shop's admin account. I asked her to read the receiving account names. The first was an LLC called Munoz Family Holdings. The second was a personal checking account registered to Lorraine Munoz. My vision tunneled. I could hear Sharon asking if I was still on the line, but her voice sounded like it was coming through water. I hung up without saying goodbye. I drove to the shop doing 60 in a 35 zone. Didn't care. I pulled up the QuickBooks audit trail on the office desktop, and there it was. Someone had changed the admin password 6 weeks ago, created a secondary authorization profile with full wire transfer privileges. The access timestamps were all between 9 p.m. and midnight, the exact nights Derek had been catching up on backlogged parts orders. Every single one. I sat back in my chair. Then I picked up my phone and called Derek. He answered on the second ring. Casual, almost cheerful, like nothing in the world was wrong. Derek, I need you to explain why there are 7 wire transfers out of my business account into your mother's name. Oh, so you finally noticed. Took you long enough. You're not even going to deny it? That's $187,000, Derek. And you wouldn't have any of this without Grandpa's last name opening doors. That money belongs to the whole family, and you know it. Grandpa left us a reputation, not a trust fund. I built this with my own hands. Every dime. Yeah, well, Mom and I decided the family's been patient long enough. You should be thanking us for only taking what's fair. I hung up. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something colder, something that sat right behind my ribs and didn't move. A kind of rage that makes you quiet instead of loud. I didn't scream. I didn't drive to Lorraine's house. I didn't call my mother or my grandmother or anyone who had turned this into a family shouting match. I sat in my shop office under the fluorescent lights, and I thought about what Derek would do next. He'd spin this. He'd call the aunts and uncles and tell them I was overreacting. He'd make it about family loyalty. He'd say I was greedy. He'd say Grandpa would be disappointed. I'd heard the script my whole life. I knew exactly how it went. So I didn't give him the chance. I pulled the audit logs onto a flash drive. I screenshotted every transaction, every timestamp, every login entry. I saved the bank statement as a PDF. I photographed the QuickBooks screen with my phone. Then I picked up that phone and called the one person I trusted completely with my books. Renee Thibodeau picked up on the first ring. She always does. Renee is 36, a CPA, grew up 3 streets over from me in Galveston. She's been doing Castillo Marine Diesel's books since year 2 of the business. I told her what happened, all of it, the wire transfers, the forged authorizations, Derek's voice on the phone, laughing at me. She went silent for 10 seconds. I could hear her breathing. Then she said, "Don't touch anything else in that system. I mean it. Don't log in again. Don't change any passwords. Don't delete a single thing. I'm coming to the shop tonight with my laptop. We're building a forensic timeline before they can scrub a single log entry. She showed up at 7 p.m. with 2 external hard drives, a legal pad, and a full pot of coffee. We sat in that office for 5 hours. She mirrored the entire QuickBooks database. She cross-referenced every wire transfer against the vendor payment schedule. She pulled IP logs from the bookkeeping portal that showed the exact device used for each authorization. By midnight, Renee looked up from her screen. Her face was different, not angry anymore, concerned. "It's worse than you think," she said. The forged authorizations were designed to look like vendor payments. Dummy invoices, fake purchase order numbers, the whole thing. Someone taught Derek how to do this. Renee laid it all out on the table the next morning. The 7 transfers had been disguised as payments to vendor accounts. Gulf South Parts Supply, Coastal Diesel Distributing. Names that sounded real if you didn't look twice. Neither company existed. Someone had created the vendor profiles inside QuickBooks using the compromised admin credentials, complete with fake tax IDs and dummy invoices with purchase order numbers that matched our formatting. This wasn't some sloppy cash grab. This was planned. The receiving accounts traced back to an LLC called Munoz Family Holdings, registered in Harris County just 5 weeks before the first transfer went through. Lorraine Munoz was listed as the registered agent. 5 weeks. That meant while Derek was smiling at me across the shop floor every morning, while he was clocking in and saying, "What's up, cuz?" he and his mother were already building the infrastructure to rob me. Renee found one more thing. Derek had changed the notification settings on the business bank account, turned off email alerts for outgoing wires, turned off text notifications. That's why I never got a single ping when $187,000 walked out the door in 11 days. He thought of everything. Or someone thought of it for him. The security cameras told the rest. I'd installed them 2 years ago after someone stole a set of injectors out of the parts cage. 4 cameras, one covering the office door. Footage showed Derek entering the office alone on 6 separate nights. He'd sit at the desktop for 30 to 45 minutes each session, typing, clicking, stealing. I had the evidence, but Derek and Lorraine had a 3-day head start on the story. Aunt Lorraine called my mother first, then Uncle Ray, then my Aunt Carmen and Aunt Delia. She told them I'd been hoarding wealth, selfishly, for years, that Derek had simply taken what the family was owed, that Grandpa Edwin would have wanted the business to benefit everyone, not just one grandson with a big head. She framed it like she was Robin Hood, and I was the dragon sitting on a pile of gold. Uncle Ray called me that Thursday night. He sounded uncomfortable. "Listen, I'm not trying to take sides, but is it true you've been sitting on $200,000 while Lorraine can barely pay her mortgage?" I wanted to throw my phone through the wall. Instead, I said, "Ray, she stole from me. I'll prove it." He got quiet and said he'd wait to hear more. That was the best I was going to get from him right then. Derek texted me that same night. "You press charges, and the whole family will know you chose money over blood. Think about that." I screenshotted it and saved it to the flash drive. Lorraine posted a long status on Facebook about family members who forget their roots. Vague enough to deny, specific enough that everyone knew who she meant. 40 sympathetic comments from cousins and second cousins and people I hadn't seen since Grandpa's funeral. None of them had a clue what actually happened. They just saw a grieving mother talking about loyalty. I couldn't fight 2 wars at once, so I picked the one that mattered. I called Marcus DeLeon. Marcus is 35, served with me on the same cutter, and now works maritime insurance fraud investigation out of Houston. I told him everything. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said, "I know exactly who you need. Don't talk to anyone else in the family until I make this call." He connected me with Catherine Worth, a forensic fraud attorney at a firm in Galveston County that handles financial crimes. Catherine reviewed Renee's documentation in 2 days and called me back. "This is one of the cleanest evidence packages I've ever received from a non-attorney," she said. "We're filing criminal with the DA and civil simultaneously." I emptied my personal savings to cover the retainer. $14,000. Every penny I had outside the business. Marcus didn't just make the phone call and disappear. He drove down from Houston on a Saturday, met me at a diner on Seawall Boulevard, and walked me through what was coming. The timeline, the emotional toll, the family fallout. "You're going to feel like the bad guy for about 3 months," he said, "and then the system is going to prove you're not. You just have to survive the middle part." After lunch, he came back to the shop and helped me change every password, lock down every account, and set up 2-factor authentication on every system Derek had ever touched. 2 weeks later, a Galveston County detective called me at 7 in the morning. They'd executed a search warrant on Aunt Lorraine's house. Inside her bedroom closet, they found a handwritten ledger in a spiral notebook. She'd already divided up the rest of my business savings among family members who hadn't even asked for it. The case moved faster than Catherine expected. She said that almost never happens. But when your evidence includes forged bank authorizations, fake vendor accounts, 6 nights of security footage, text messages between the conspirators, and a handwritten ledger dividing up money that wasn't theirs, there's not a lot of room for delay. Derek's public defender tried to negotiate a plea early. Derek refused. He still believed he was right. He told his own lawyer that this was a family matter and the court had no business getting involved. His lawyer apparently told him to stop talking. Derek didn't listen. He never did. Catherine presented everything methodically. The dummy vendor profiles, the compromised admin credentials, the LLC registered 5 weeks before the first transfer, the security camera timestamps matched to the QuickBooks login records down to the minute. Then the prosecution read Lorraine's text message out loud in court. "Got another $26K moved tonight," and Lorraine's response, "Good. He won't even notice until it's too late. That's what he gets for being greedy." The judge's expression changed when he heard that. I watched it happen from 12 feet away. His jaw tightened. He looked at Derek like he was seeing him clearly for the first time. At sentencing, Derek stood up to make a statement. His lawyer tried to stop him. Derek pushed forward anyway. "Your Honor, I just want to say that I never meant to hurt anyone. I was trying to help my family. My cousin has more money than he knows what to do with," and the judge cut him off. "Mr. Munoz, I'm going to stop you right there. What you've described is not helping your family. What you've described is theft. Premeditated, documented, and brazen theft. The fact that you still don't seem to understand that is deeply concerning to this court. 14 months in county jail. Full restitution of $187,400. Derek's face went white. He turned and looked at Lorraine sitting in the gallery, and for the first time, there was no defiance in his eyes, just panic, like a kid who finally realizes the stove is hot after he's already grabbed it. Lorraine was charged separately with conspiracy to commit wire fraud. She took a plea deal, 3 years probation, a civil judgment for the full amount, a felony on her record. Her Facebook went silent overnight. Every one of those 40 sympathetic comments disappeared into thin air. The Corpus Christi expansion died that spring. I spent the next year rebuilding the business account, while restitution payments trickled in at $300 a month. 2 of my marina contracts nearly lapsed because the cash flow disruption made me late on parts orders. I was up at 4 a.m. running numbers, trying to figure out how to make payroll and keep the lights on at the same time. I didn't sleep well for months. The family split roughly 60-40. Most people, once they heard the actual evidence, and not Lorraine's version, came around. Uncle Ray called to apologize. He said, "I should have asked you first, instead of listening to her. That's on me." I told him I appreciated it, and I meant it. A few of Lorraine's closer allies stopped speaking to me entirely. That hurt less than I expected. Derek's younger sister, who had nothing to do with any of it, sent me a text one night. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." I believed her. 6 months after the sentencing, Lorraine reached out through my mother. She wanted to know if there was any way to put this behind us as a family. She didn't apologize. She didn't acknowledge what she did. She said she was struggling. The felony had made it impossible to find work. My mother, to her credit, told Lorraine straight, "You need to talk to him directly, and you need to start with, 'I'm sorry.'" Lorraine never called. I told my mom. I left the door open. She chose not to walk through it. That's on her now. 14 months later, the Corpus Christi location opened. Smaller than I originally planned. A 2-bay shop near the marina on Shoreline Boulevard. But it was real. Renee handles the books for both locations now. Marcus drove down for the opening and brought a bottle of bourbon and a framed photo of my grandfather standing next to a tugboat engine in 1979. I hung it on the office wall. I hire carefully now. Background checks. Limited system access. No family. I don't regret giving Derek a chance. I regret not trusting my instincts when the red flags started waving. People ask me if I'm angry. Honestly, not anymore. Anger is expensive, and I've already lost enough money to last me a lifetime. What I am is clear. I know exactly who showed up for me and who showed up for themselves. I built this once from nothing, and I'll build it again if I have to. But I won't let anyone tell me I owe the world a cut of what my own hands made. Not ever again.